Welcome back, Double Team fam. How are we doing? All right. Take it away, Nikki.
This is my first episode without little Tiesto in my lap, like he always is, and I'm sad.
I would be too. Well, I mean, I'm also sad, but he usually sat on your lap, not mine.
No, he did. And actually, I was like looking through a lot of the files that we have of where he is sitting on my lap, and like, because I try to clear out our files every like few months or so, and I was getting rid of some today so that I could make some room for other stuff. And when it came to the files that he was in, I didn't delete as many of them, maybe one or two. I'm keeping the file for the vanilla sundae that we did with all the pets. I'm keeping that one.
Our little Tiesto.
But there were a bunch of other ones that I kept too because he's in them. So yeah, my little baby boy. I did get his ashes. So if you've ever like had to put a pet down, they do this thing now where you can do, it's like an aquamation, they call it. So instead of a cremation where like they burn them, I guess, and get their ashes, it's aquamation. So it's like the same process but with water. I would love to know how that actually works. Like, do they just like put them through this like ringer of a water system that like just because
I don't want to think about
decomposition in water takes a lot more time.
I don't want to think about that.
I know, I don't want to think about it either. But anyways, it's the same thing I did with my dog, Sammy, and I did it with Tiesto. And so I got his ashes back, and I literally had like the box of Sammy's ashes and then the box of Tiesto's ashes, and I held both of them and just like bawled my eyes out.
Oh,
It was a very...
Tiesto and Sammy were friends. They were the first pets you adopted.
And the first pets I had, yeah. So they were, I mean, like...
They were buddies.
They were buddies. They've known each other, the longest.
Lobito is also buddies with Tiesto, so...
I know, I can tell. Lobo misses having a kitty that will play with him.
I miss, because Tiesto would always sleep on my bed next to him, and Lobo would always cuddle, and then, typically on my other side would be Greywind. So I miss having Tiesto there.
Yeah. The house feels lonelier without him, even in, if we do have 5 other pets.
But I think Marie can sense when he's visiting us. Because she does her little chirpy chirps, but like she'll go to like places where Tiesto used to roam and start chirping.
Maybe.
So like the other day she was like she never goes up against that basket. And she went up against the basket under the TV and was like sniffing it and like pacing around it.
Oh my God, I didn't even realize that. Why didn't you point that out to me?
What, do you not notice it?
No, I didn't notice it.
Marie did the same thing whenever... Stop.
When Sammy passed?
Yeah, when Sammy passed, Marie would go sleep under my bed where Sammy used to sleep.
Yeah, and she never did that.
So if you pay attention to Marie, you can see when she senses them. She's good at sensing the dead, I guess.
I don't know about you guys, but I really do think our pets have some sort of like sixth sense.
Absolutely.
That's my belief, because I remember her rubbing her like up against that basket the other day, and I hadn't even thought that maybe she was sensing Tiesto there. Anyway, so yeah, I miss my little Chunky, and that's been hard. But anyways, no, for today's episode, I wanted to cover, so it's so funny. A friend of ours was telling us about this podcast episode on a hike, and then another friend texted us about it, and I was like, well, damn, okay, maybe I gotta listen to this podcast episode. Cami, I don't think you listened to it, so I hope this doesn't turn out to be like the worst game of telephone ever, but I'm gonna like convey. Okay, so this is the Daily Podcast, which I don't listen to, but the host of... What?
What is it about?
The AI ChatGPT boyfriend.
No, I'm saying, what is the Daily about? Like,
I have no
genre?
idea. I have no idea.
Okay.
I think it's news.
Okay.
Okay, so this podcast did an interview with the woman who interviewed the woman that had the ChatGPT boyfriend. That's why.
Oh my God, that is
That's why I'm like, this is going to sound like a really bad game of telephone, but
yeah. I'm starting to put these two together. Okay.
Anyways, and it's titled "She Fell in Love with ChatGPT," like actual love with sex. And the guest is Kashmir Hill. Oh, she almost spells it like the way I spell cashmere, but literally.
Oh, yeah. Just take out the vowels.
She is a writer from the New York Times, and I guess she did a story on this, and that's, where the podcast episode came from. So basically, let me explain the situation for you, especially for anyone that doesn't want to go listen to this episode. It wasn't that long. I think it was like maybe, hold on, how long was it? It was like 30 minutes total. That's not that bad. I feel like that's a solid like amount of time for a podcast episode. So if you've noticed, the episodes that Kami and I are doing without guests now are like 30 minutes tops, because like I just don't think people's attention spans are there.
I know.
I won't even sit down for a 3 minute. Do you want to
sit through a 2-hour episode? Probably not.
No, I don't even want to sit through like a 3-minute TikTok if it's not that intriguing. So anyways,
which kind of sucks, like I really feel like we as human beings should be working on our attention spans, because a short attention span, which is what basically our phones and social media has groomed us to become, is just like horrible for your short-term and long-term memory. And I'm sure it has lasting effects that we will soon discover in the generations to come. I think if you, like as a human being, we should all be working towards longer attention spans.
I am trying to do some of that work. I'm trying to sit through more TikToks. And look, I find
that's horrible. Stop don't go to your apps for this. Put your phone down.
Yeah. So, honestly, I'm trying to do that with reading too. Like sit down and read for longer periods of time.
No, exactly. Sit down and read a book.
Yeah.
Like, and set a timer. Like, okay, 30 minutes nonstop reading. Obviously, like if it's a really good book, you're going to zoom right through it. But if, you find yourself and put your phone in a different room, or put it across the room so it's nowhere near you, and then read a book and, whatever. I'm going to start this new thing in the morning. I started it today.
What is it?
And so I get up, and the first thing that I usually do is I pee, I go let the dogs out, and then I put on my red light mask for 15 minutes. And I told myself this morning, I'm like, I'm not going to get on my phone until I've completed those 3 things.
Pee,
so I woke
red
up.
Light mask.
Yeah, I woke up. I started with gratitude. I named 3 things that I'm grateful for.
Oh, I love that. That's a great exercise. Yeah.
And then I went to pee, let the dogs out, put my mask on. 15 minutes went by. I came upstairs. I fed the cats while I had my red light mask on. I did some affirmations, some twerking affirmations to get the body moving. And then I went downstairs when the 15 minutes were up. I washed my face, did my morning routine, skincare routine, and then I finally checked my phone.
See, I'm not trying to do too much of a skincare routine in the mornings, just because like I feel actually my skin is doing better when I don't.
No, I just do water and moisturizer.
Oh, okay, that's what I do
and
too.
SPF.
I don't do cleansing in the morning.
You should definitely be putting SPF on every day.
Anyways, I love that, and I'm gonna try to enact some of those things as well. But yes, I mean, I think in general, we need to work on our attention spans. But that was kind of a tangent on attention spans when we're talking about the ChatGPT boyfriend stuff. Okay, so moving on. Let me get back to giving Kami and you guys a little synopsis of what this episode was about. So this reporter interviewed this woman who, I actually can't remember if they ever said her age. Basically, but she sounds younger. She sounds kind of Gen Z-ish, the way she talks. Yeah. Actually, maybe they did say her age, and I want to say it was like mid-20s. 26, maybe, something like that. Anyways.
Wow.
So she's married. Her and her husband met at Walmart because they both worked there. And then I guess because of like the economy and the general cost of living, she went to go live with her family out of the country. I don't know if they didn't say which country. I'm assuming maybe Canada. I don't know. Because she didn't really have like a European accent of sorts. Because in this podcast episode, they featured clips, like audio clips of like the actual girl talking. Anyways, so she went to go live with her family outside of the country while her husband, I guess, stayed wherever they were. And so they had kind of this long distance relationship going on. and she's going to nursing school.
Let's stop right there. Why, if she's falling on hard times, why is she moving in with her parents out of the country while her boyfriend stays
her husband
her husband stays in the same home they're at, so rent stays the same? I don't know,
but her parents were paying for her nursing school, so I think she's trying to better her career so she can, you know, do more and make a higher income. And maybe her parents were like, if you come back and live with us, we'll pay for your school. I don't know, they didn't go into depth about that because that's not what the story was about.
No, but
I agree. I agree. Well, I'm going where my husband's going.
No, exactly, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I think this is relevant in the fact that the whole reason of her moving and being lonely is what pushed her into this Chat GPT relationship, which wouldn't have happened if her husband was with her. Like,
we don't know that, do we? I mean, but anyways, so basically, yes, at some point she started talking with like Chat GPT, and it like kind of took on this persona. She asked it if it had a name, and he used the name Leo, which I guess is her astrological sign, so she loved that. And so she doesn't refer to it as ChatGPT, she refers to it as Leo, which I think is kind of an important thing because like already she's kind of like
personifying it.
Yes, and building like a slightly, you know, better or slightly more connection with it. I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to say that. Regardless. Okay. So she starts talking to ChatGPT, and I guess she starts kind of pushing the boundaries of like, because it's designed to not be very like spicy or sexual. But at some point she starts kind of pushing those boundaries, and she just said that like she just ignored the notification that would pop up, the like orange notification that would say like this is maybe outside of like the guidelines or whatever. And she said nothing ever happens. She continued. And it just kind of started ramping up, you know, in terms of like what she was discussing with ChatGPT. And she started exploring this, like, she called it a cuck queen fantasy with ChatGPT. Leo would tell her about like all his girlfriends and like his experiences with them. And then that would make her jealous. And then they would have like a repair of some sort, I guess. And, you know, and then and their spicy conversations. And so she liked exploring that fantasy with Leo. But then at some point she realized it was kind of like not good for her mental health. So her and Leo, ChatGPT, decided to be exclusive. Like he wasn't gonna, you know, do the whole cuck thing anymore. Which was interesting. And I remember as I was listening to this episode the whole time, I'm like, does her husband know about this? Turns out, yes, he does. And I think the reporter actually went on and did a interview with him as well, which they didn't really cover a whole lot. But basically, the husband said that he appreciated that she got to explore some of her fantasies with it. And since they were long distance, he didn't see any harm in it, and it didn't really bother him, which I thought was very interesting. But
would you consider this an open relationship? Exactly. I don't know.
I think it definitely borders on something not totally
monogamous
emotionally.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, you know, if she really, like,
I could see
they could have actually had the conversation of like, oh, hey, I want to explore this fantasy. Like, let's hop on Field and find this cuck queen. Like,
I know. I wonder if maybe, you know, her husband just felt it was safer to do it with a computer rather than with an actual person. I understand that. But I also think at the same time, like, we need to continue to prioritize human connection, you know? Like, yeah, I mean, she could absolutely hop on Field and find probably many people that would be willing to explore that, even just like on a level of, you know, talking and not acting on it.
Exactly.
Field is a very open-minded, you know, app. It's a great place, I think, for anyone that's looking to fulfill a lot of fantasies outside of kind of the normal vanilla stuff.
And she could have had this like pen pal relationship with someone. Could have built that dynamic, which it would have been the same if it was just a person from another country in which, you know, they're pen paling back and forth.
Yeah, or someone from, you know, that she meets on Field on the app, or it could have been a woman, you know. I don't know if that would have been the same thing for her. But regardless, like, there could have been other outlets for her to explore this, you know, cuck queen fantasy And maybe in a way that didn't lead to such like an unhealthy attachment with this AI robot.
But would
ChatGPT
she have built
thing.
this unhealthy attachment with a human then?
I mean, that's a great question. But
I'm just saying.
But I also think like, you know, I'm sure if it was, you know, say, sure, her husband let her go on Field and find a pen pal to, you know, discuss this fantasy with, and, you know, have the opportunity to, you know, dive into a little bit more, because she did say that he was not into it. So he was happy for her to get to explore it, you know. But say, you know, she could have gone to someone and just said, hey, like I want it to be, you know, just kind of just like written, talking, texting, all of that, not something that actually happens in person. I'm sure that person would have been out there. But I also think like, had that been the case, her husband probably would have stepped in and made sure that there were more boundaries and rules and such, because now you are taking into account like another person and their emotions and such. So I do think that it's possible that had he been more involved, maybe it wouldn't have gotten this far. Granted, they are still long distance.
Guys, if you're interested in checking out Field, they do have a new constellations feature, which I think is pretty cool. So you can link up with all the peeps in your network on Field. So then that way, when someone slides into those DMs, they can see who else you're connected with. Maybe you can find a mutual friend. But yeah.
A human friend, not a ChatGPT boyfriend.
Just don't get me started on that. Yeah.
Anyways. Okay, so Via Hemp has a new gummy that I want to try out, and I didn't know. Or at least, I don't know if it's just a new formula or maybe they renamed it, but it's called Revive.
Oh.
And it's a CBD CBG blend. And it's a berry flavor. And I don't recall having tried that one out. I remember the Dream State, the Flow State. But I kind of want to try these Revive ones. See what those are like. So if maybe we could just reach out to Via Hemp and see if they can send over some Revive. I would love to try that.
Some things we love about Via Hemp is the fact that they are farmed and crafted with care in the United States.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Guys, if you're wanting to try out Via Hemp, go to the link in our episode description. If you're 21 and plus, use code DTFAM. You do get 15% off and free shipping over orders of 100 or more. And if you're new to Via Hemp, you do get a little free gift. So again, go to the link in the episode description. If you're 21 and plus, use code DTFAM and get 15% off.
But this is where, like, I think let me explain how it starts to get a little bit more like obsessive, and like where I think is like where the issues really lie. Because she was talking with this so much, like you reach a limit with ChatGPT if you don't pay for it. And so then she started paying for it, but even the first tier has like, I think like a 30,000 character or 30,000 word limit, something like that. So then you go like to the premium one, which has no limits. And which I didn't even know this was a thing. I don't pay for ChatGPT, you know. Anyways,
we shouldn't rely on AI.
Yeah,
that's another tangent. I don't even want to get started.
I know, but yeah, that's something. Let me finish
ourselves. Yeah. So dumb.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, so she now pays $200 a month for unlimited messaging with Leo,
but she couldn't afford to live with her husband and stay where she was.
Look, no one was asking the financial questions, but yeah, I mean, I guess.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. I'm like, you know,
I know, but I guess think about it. If it's entertainment for her, like, you know, I probably spend $200 a month
for an AI platform.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, and now here's the real kicker. She was saying that her screen time in talking with Leo, the ChatGPT boyfriend that she had, was upwards of 56 hours a week. That is more than a full-time job.
Yeah. That's
like, look, my screen time's pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. But we also, Cammie and I work on our phones. You know, like we post on stuff. We interact, like we email brands, like, you know, and we got to engage with the audience and everything. And like make sure all of our, like our calendar, probably reviewing that thing takes a solid hour a day, you know. So it's like I get a lot of screen time because like I use my phone so much for work, and obviously like yes, I also use it to, you know, call my boyfriend and text.
Yo,
and blah,
I
blah,
wonder
blah,
how her nursing school is going with this.
I wondered that
hours
too.
A week.
I was like,
where are her priorities?
That's what I'm saying. If you're spending that much time talking to an AI boyfriend, how is she studying? How is she maintaining a job? Because I'm sure she's still working, even though I think maybe, I don't know. When did she talk to her husband? you know, all these things. But I thought 56 hours a week talking to AI is ridiculous.
But also,
I could not believe that.
She's just at that point then just so into like the fantasy that like, where is the realism? Where is her connection to reality? There's nothing grounding in this situation. Nothing.
I mean, so she went to Leo for like advice on all kinds of stuff, like, and so she was saying, you know, that it felt like like a therapist, a boyfriend, and a best friend kind of all rolled up in one, and like that became like her safe space. Those are great things, yes.
And this is probably a little computer chip in the middle of India that is having this conversation with her.
I know. Anyways, and while those are positive attributes, yes, the negatives side is like she's becoming obsessed with it. So here's another kicker. So ChatGPT can only hold memory. This thing has been going on for like months for her, a long time. ChatGPT only can hold so much memory. So every like few, I don't know how often it happened, like weeks, whatever, it basically like started over. And so like it would forget their old conversations. Like it remembered the general gist of their relationship, but it did not remember specifics. So any like little inside jokes or any like specific things that were said back and forth would be basically like reset every once in a while because of the capabilities of the AI. And which I thought was fascinating. But then she said that like each time that happened, it was like a breakup, like a loss. And so like I think she's become like addicted to like the dopamine rush of like building this relationship.
Absolutely.
This
is gonna suck for her.
Yeah. And I mean she did sound very self-aware. She understood that it wasn't healthy. She knew it wasn't realistic. She knew it's not going to ever like turn into more than what it is now. But at the end, she literally said, and this is where I think if I was her partner, I would have a serious problem with it. She literally said that she thinks it is the healthiest relationship she has ever had, and she feels it is her ideal relationship. And she said, she was like, I mean, my husband's great, but he's human, so like of course he's gonna have like human emotions and human mistakes, whereas like the AI doesn't have that. And so I know, but that's the point. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
What do you mean? Your husband's human. Oh my God.
And so but she did go on to say that, yeah, it's become like her ideal relationship, and it's kind of like made other relationships feel so less than because of how great the relationship with the robot is. But I'm like, it's literally designed to do that.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It's literally designed to tell you everything you want to hear.
Yes. And it's also just teaching her, like, if she's setting this bar so astronomically, unrealistically high, it's making her less empathetic to human flaws, less empathetic to human relationships and emotions, the hardships that you have to work through in a relationship that make it worth the lasting fuck. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's making her a robot.
No, and I remember at one point, like the reporter had asked her, she was like, well, aren't you know people are supposed to act like mirrors, and they're supposed to show us like, parts of ourselves that maybe we don't want to face and blah blah blah, which I think absolutely, like, that's what relationships do. But and she was like, yeah, no, I get that, but the support that she gets from this Leo ChatGPT thing is like so substantial that she doesn't really feel like she
that's because this Leo ChatGPT thing is literally only existing for her.
Exactly.
And
so there are no outside factors.
Exactly. It's like there's nothing else. So it is designed to give her everything that she wants. And here's the thing. No, even the
it's not going to challenge her.
Exactly. Even the healthiest of relationships come with challenges, come with flaws, and with problems to work through and things like that. Because like at the end of the day, sometimes like, sure, I can sit there and be like, mad, like, oh my God, my boyfriend hasn't texted me in 2 hours. Like, what is he doing? I'm so mad. But then I could also be like, okay, he's also a human. He's also has responsibilities and a job and things that he wants to do. And okay, so I am not the center of his world. I'm a big part of it, but I'm not the sole purpose for his living. And I feel like A lot of people need to remember that in relationships. You are not the sole reason for someone's existence.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone treats you that way, perfect, great. But how sustainable is that to a certain degree? You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. But that's why I think she's become so, engulfed in this, is because this thing lives solely for her.
Also,
that
is such a Leo thing. Anyways,
oh my god, I didn't even think about that. She's a fucking Leo.
No, exactly. She wants to be the sun, Nicole.
Yeah.
Also,
the shadow of Leo. The shadow of Leo is, think about like it opposes Aquarius, and Aquarius is very techie. So the shadow of Leo is like getting too engulfed in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and the shadow of Leo can also, in some ways, be self-obsession. Also, you have to think about the fact that don't they also say that like she has sex with this?
Yeah,
Leo?
they do.
And I'm like, no, that's just masturbation to the computer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They didn't get too into that because I think The Daily is a family-friendly podcast. And
let's talk about it.
It seemed like they didn't really want to get into that, but I mean, I could see like it would be fun to. I just don't know that I could take it seriously getting instructions to wank from a computer.
From a book.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think that's wrong.
Are there pictures involved? Probably not.
I don't know.
I don't think Chat GPT. I think you have to, unless.
No, but it is supposed to be family friendly. So even for it to get that spicy, like I don't think it can get too graphic or anything like that. But I don't know. I've never used it for that. I've actually used ChatGPT for astrology, and I would say it has some great insights. It really does.
What did it say?
No, I've just used it for like charts and stuff, or like certain things. And I think it does a really good job of like pulling in really good information. But anyways, at the end of the day, when I listened to this episode, I mean, she's not hurting anybody. So, and her husband is consenting to it, which I think is fine. And that's the thing, is at the end of the day, like, it's not affecting my life, so I don't really care. However, if it was my boyfriend with some little ChatGPT girlfriend that he was suddenly saying like, oh, this is better than my actual relationship and my actual girlfriend because there's, it's just so much of a better relationship. There's no human flaws. I'm sorry, I'm not going to stay with that person.
No,
go have your fucking robot, bitch.
Well, like, here's the thing. There's, obviously in this, there's nothing wrong with it in the sense that, like, it's not hurting anybody. Sure, it's probably, like I said, some computer chip in India and it's running a lot of energy and, and the environmental impacts are probably the most.
Yeah, but everything's got an environmental impact.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
that it's affecting us. However, I will say, especially when it comes to the way that AI is being used and promoted and how forward we're moving through with it, and now you see stories like these where it's like people are really just taking it out of proportion. It makes me sad for humanity because I get it. Technology's great. Technology's the reason that camera's powered and this microphone works and this computer's plugged in, right? Great.
Which is still mind-blowing in and of itself. The
fact
that
I know.
This thing records us in this moment, and then people can watch it for the years to come on YouTube.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Is that not mind-blowing in and of itself?
Amazing. Great. However, like, technology also is making us stupid. It's making us reliant on it. When was the last time that we were, you tell me, you go out in the middle of nowhere with a map and tell me how to get home? Can't do that.
Okay, well, as someone that practiced something that's called dead reckoning in flying,
you probably can.
I actually have done that, but I was also in an airplane which uses technology, so I don't know.
I was gonna say, actually, I believe I am capable than most in the sense that, like, I do feel like I could figure something out when the time push comes to shove and the time calls for it, especially when it comes to nature, but we are getting really, really out of touch with our intuition and our inner
compass.
Inner compass and mechanisms because of all this technology. So I see things like this where it's just glorifying an AI relationship. If you want to use the word glorifying, I'm going to use it.
No, it is. I think, yeah.
And it makes me sad. It makes me sad for this world. Like, where is the rawness in this? where is the...
There's not. I mean,
where's the touch?
And then she recognized that it's just not like she can go, hug it or feel like and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's taking out the like somatic, like piece that can help us regulate our nervous systems. And that's something else that technology has greatly affected us, because like our dopamine reward systems are absolutely shot because of the way that technology is this day and age.
No, exactly.
If you think about it, text messages, from your favorite person or your crush, Instagram notifications on, something, whatever, like all those things are heavily changing our dopamine like reward systems in our bodies. So then like we become kind of dependent on that for happiness, and then that ruins other things for us. So, and
turn off your Instagram notifications.
The only notifications I have on are messages from you and my boyfriend and emails. Those are the only notifications I get.
Yeah, everything else, just turn off your notifications. My boyfriend's phone is always on no notifications.
I also have it to where I also have a setting. It kicks in at 5 p.m. every day. The only notifications that come through are from my man. Unless I'm not with you. When I'm in Italy, I change it to where it's only notifications from you.
Yeah. I check my phone way less when I'm with my boyfriend.
Oh my God. I don't even remember where the fuck it is when I'm with him. Like,
I know.
My screen time goes down
times without my phone, and I'm like, fuck.
My screen time goes down significantly when I go spend time in Italy with my man, because I just like, I'm right there with it. The only time I need to talk to someone is when I need to talk to Cammie. The worst part is like when I check my phone and it's like 3 missed calls from you and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, sorry.
My favorite part is when I'll check my phone and like no one's texted me. I'm like, okay, wow. Like, but then I also have majority.
That's called freedom right there.
Yeah,
okay, that is called freedom.
I have a majority of my group chats silenced too, so I don't get notifications for those either.
Yeah.
Because like sure, I'll get to my iMessages and it's like 240 notifications from one group chat, and I'm like, well.
But anyways, back to this AI thing with the girl. I guess. Look,
I hope she finds healing.
No, look, at the end of the day, like it, like I said, it doesn't hurt anybody. But if the trend in society becomes that everyone just relies, especially the younger generations, just rely on these kind of like AI kind of relationships instead of interpersonal relationships with actual humans, we're going to eventually have a problem. And I'm sure there will be some sort of like correction in a way. But yeah, I mean, if it were me personally, I would not be okay with it. Yes, sure, it's just a computer and, you can think of it as fun or whatever, but like, I think it can point to some serious
it's like
mental health issues. Yeah.
It's like a partner with a porn addiction.
It's exactly like a porn addiction. Yeah. But instead of like, physical, like porn, that kind of thing, it's emotional because she's having an emotional relationship with this thing. So yeah, not for me. But that's me personally. Someone else could be like, I don't care if my person, has a ChatGPT boyfriend, have at it. But I mean, when she was saying how much time she was spending talking to this thing, it really made me realize, when does she have time for other stuff?
Like, go get some hobbies. Pottery. Hiking. Running. Working out. Not enough people work out. I think that is the reason why America has a lot of problems. Go outside and take a 15-minute walk first thing you wake up. I guarantee you your life will exponentially change if you don't do that already.
100%.
That's what I did this morning. Woke up after, did our morning stuff. I went with the dogs to the park while they were running around. Jess and I ran laps.
Yeah, I do the laps at the dog park too. Or I go take them on a hike every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Look, we are creators, so like we get a lot of control over our schedule. So yeah, I am very, very, very grateful that I get to wake up every morning. And the first thing I do is go hike with my dogs.
But don't let it be an excuse, because you can also just adjust your schedule. When I was in Kansas working 14-hour shifts, when I worked at the event management company, I still had a dog, 2 dogs that needed walks. And before I would go into work, I'd make sure they get a walk, and as soon as I'd get home, they'd get another walk. So those dogs were always walking, even when I worked really, really long days.
I will say this, because I figure, someday when I have children down the road, you know, and they start getting access to a computer, I don't want them to be introduced to AI so soon, because I don't think that that's going to be healthy. Like, I'm going to put them in sports.
Oh, I say
you're going to be part of like look, I don't care if they watch, you know, the Dancing Fruit, you know, when they're babies, and I need them to, that's fine. And I need them to shut the fuck up. That's fine. You know, or if we're going to put on Bluey as a family in the mornings and watch it. I don't care about that. But what I'm saying is, like, as they start really developing in their, like, you know, younger formative years into preteens and teens, like, if all they want to do is spend all day on a computer talking to ChatGPT or playing video games, I'm going to have an issue with that. There's going to be like a mandatory 2 hours a day. You got to go outside and do something. Whether that's walk the dogs, go on a bike ride, play a sport, something, but there needs to be balance. I'm not saying, look, technology is always going to be a part of our lives now. That, like, it's not going away, so I'm totally fine.
I'm grateful for it.
I know, and I'm very grateful for it too, and I'm more than happy to incorporate it, but I am not going to allow it to be the only thing that is in their lives. Rely on it. There needs to be a balance. And it's the same thing that I practice for myself. Like, yes, I spend a lot of time on my phone and on the computer, editing, writing, whatever, but I also spend, you know, at least a good chunk of my day outside with my dogs walking, going to the gym, you know, just taking 15 minutes to get some sun when I can. So things like that.
I went on our rooftop earlier today, butt ass naked, because I can, because it's a private rooftop, and soaked the sun for 15 minutes. It was great.
I do that sometimes too. Like, when I've been editing for like hours on end and my eyes are just like hurting, I go on the rooftop and just like sit in the sun, say some affirmations, whatever. Anyways, so yeah, I hope this girl does find healing. It does sound like a situation that has probably gotten a little out of hand and is bordering some sort of mental disorder, which I don't mean to say that to sound insensitive, but it does not sound healthy. And I'm not here to judge, you know, and like I said, she's not hurting anybody, so like, I don't fucking care what she does personally, but
yep, I'd agree. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, if you are a parent wanting to know how to give your child the sex talk, head on over to my course, empoweredcaretakers.com. Use code EMPOWER for $10 off. And yeah, all the information you need to teach your kid about sex.
And again, if you want to listen to that episode, it's called She Fell in Love with ChatGPT, like actual love with sex, from the Daily Podcast, featuring Kashmir Hill, who was the writer for the New York Times that wrote about this story.
Yep.
So yeah, anyways,